it looks like Paquetá is in a lot of trouble. It looks like things have just got far, far worse in terms of him, in terms of the betting allegations against him, and what ultimately could prove to be a lifetime ban from football. Indeed, even a custodial sentence. There's quite a lot going on here. There's quite a lot to unpack. I'm going to try and be as concise and simple as I can. I'm going to give you a simplified version of what I believe is happening, because there have been some developments in the Brazil part of the hearing into what's been going on with the betting patterns. Gio will be along tomorrow to give a more detailed version, because I'll tell you now, there's a lot of names, there's a lot of similar names, there's a lot of details, and there's a lot of translated jargon from Brazilian Portuguese, basically. But once you cut through the fog, and it is pretty damn foggy, you realise that actually what is going on here is not good at all. Before we understand what's going on in Brazil, let's just deal with the other stuff that's happening, because that will feed into it. So there are 3 investigations. The Football Association English investigation, which of course you're going to be very, very familiar with. They've charged Paquetá with betting breaches, that basically he took yellow cards in certain games, and when he took those yellow cards, they were bet on in his home country, Brazil. Actually, in Paquetá Island. No, I've not made that up. In Paquetá Island, and it would appear that the betting patterns were highly irregular. So the suggestion is that Paquetá got booked on purpose, and he tipped people off that he was going to get booked, and they bet on him, right? That's where you are. Now, I'm not saying that whether that's true or it's false or anything. That's what people are saying. That's the allegation against him. The FA have charged him, but as of yet, he's not had his full hearing with the FA. They're still compiling evidence. Then you have the Spanish investigation, and this involves Paquetá's uncle. I've got to get this right, who is Bruno Tolentino. He is being investigated into giving payments to a La Liga player for a similar type thing, for stuff happening in football matches. People bet on it, and then they basically make money, I guess, through the bookies in Brazil. That's a Spanish investigation. Then you have the Brazilian investigation, which was the last one to come along. That hearing is going on right now. Paquetá has been asked to appear. He didn't go over and he didn't appear, but I think he might have appeared via Zoom call. His uncle Bruno, looks to be in a bit of a pickle with that one, and there were even some reports yesterday that Uncle Bruno could be facing up to a 6-year custodial sentence. So really, as West Ham fans, we want to know to what extent Paquetá is involved in this, because as I've mentioned on numerous occasions, we could be looking at he could be exonerated, he could be innocent. We could be looking at a short ban, we could be looking at a lifetime ban, and at worst for him, he could be looking at a custodial sentence. Whilst the hearing has been going on in Brazil at the moment, it appears that there has been another person involved, and almost a ringleader, if you like. Basically, the ringleader of this betting scam, of this betting ring. Now, he has given evidence yesterday. His name is also Bruno, just to make things more confusing. You must watch Gio's video tomorrow and he'll explain who everybody is. Whilst giving evidence yesterday, he suggested that Lucas Paquetá, our own Lucas Paquetá, when we played Aston Villa on the 12th of March, 12th of April, 2023, I think I've got that right, as a birthday present to his brother, whose name is Matheus Tolentino, he basically decided to take a yellow card. That's the accusation. That's the evidence that's been given. Basically, in this game, Paquetá, on purpose, took a yellow card so as his brother could earn money at the bookies. That is a really, really serious accusation. That's not a bookmaker's trying to discover stuff. That is evidence by a whistleblower. Now, whether this whistleblower who was obviously highly implicated in this betting ring himself, whether he is giving evidence now as a way to reduce his own punishment, I don't know. I couldn't say. But this is not good, because if this is true, it means that Lucas Paquetá has been doing dodgy things in Premier League football matches, tipping off his family and their associates and a betting ring when it would happen, so as they can earn money. A personal testimony, which is what this is, that goes alongside banking transactions, betting transactions, is probably going to be quite damning. And if it turns out to be true, then I think it's all over. I think it's all over for Lucas Paquetá. I don't even think you would need to await the results of the FA hearing. I'm quite sure that the FA would consult with the Brazilian FA. I'm quite sure this was at least result in a FIFA lifetime ban. And I do think it's changed. So I think this has sort of ticked along, and this has been trickling along for quite some time, with not an awful lot of specifics and not a lot of detail being said. This is very, very detailed. It's a personal testimony. This is somebody giving a sworn testimony in a hearing in Brazil, saying he did that. Lucas Paquetá has been not throwing games, but he has been creating incidents, taking cards in football matches, so as people could bet on them. I mean, it is not only against football rules. It's fraud. It's highly illegal. He will. You would expect, if it's proven, that he will go to prison for that. It is important to recognise that the body of evidence required certainly by the FA, the English Football Association, is not as stringent as the evidence required in a legal trial. So I think, obviously a legal trial, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. That's certainly not the case. You don't need as much hard evidence at all. So I think we may well be witnessing the beginning of the end here. And I've always been a bit worried about this because, look, he's West Ham's record signing. We've got a lot of money invested in him. I think the timing of it's pretty crap from a West Ham point of view because he's just started. You almost feel like he's been putting that stuff behind him, and he's been playing his best form in the last year and a half has been the last few games. This is going to be very, very destabilising, but certainly more than that. I think it's going to be very, very hard. I think you have. Well, you listen. You can do what you want. This level of evidence starts me personally wondering, is he guilty? And obviously we're not, I guess we'll never truly know. And I guess all that matters is whether he's found guilty or not. But I think when this first happened, I think I was shocked, as very much like a West Ham fan. This is ridiculous. And you stick with a player and you get behind the player. And the club have certainly got behind the player. He's had loads and loads and loads of support. He really has. And I think one of the things that I've not really heard said too many times by West Ham fans, for all the reasons I said, because you don't want it to be true, is he guilty? And I think we are now at the point where you have to start thinking that he might be. I'm not saying he is. That's for the court to decide, for the hearing to decide. But I think long gone are the times where you look at it and think, this is absolutely rubbish. It's made up. This is absolute nonsense. He's innocent. Because none of us know any of this stuff. None of us are there. But the more evidence that comes out as this stuff comes out. Now, obviously, there's going to be people who say, well, hold on, this is just this guy, this Bruno number 2, we'll call him that, and this ringleader, this whistleblower, is just trying to throw people under the bus. I mean, that could be true. And you're right to think that, and you'd be right to consider that, and you're absolutely right to consider that Lucas Paquetá's innocent. But I think that's almost all that's happened up to now, that everyone has assumed and hoped that he was innocent. This does not look good. What's coming out now does not make him look innocent. If you've got that, if you've got the personal testimony, as I mentioned earlier, if you've got the bank statements, if you've got the betting patterns, if you've got all that stuff and you're discovering more stuff, then I just don't think it looks good. That's my understanding of the situation as it is now. That's a really, really simplified version of it. And it is complicated. It took me... I had to read through this stuff 2 or 3 times. It's never great. I'm not claiming to have any inside knowledge on this. I'm like anyone else. I'm reading Google Translate on this stuff, and it's hard to pick through. But as far as I understand, the accusation that the biggest player, I don't mean football player, I mean the biggest participant in the betting in the Paquetá family is Uncle Bruno. But it would appear from this that not only is Uncle Bruno involved, Paquetá obviously is involved, as is his brother. And I do think this whistleblower, who we imagine is the ringleader, That's certainly what I transcribed from the stuff that I read. He's grassing everyone up. He's become a super grass, I think. That's what it looks like at this point. I would ordinarily say that the news is going to move really quickly. I'm not so sure. It might do. It might not. This whole thing's moved very, very slowly. But as things stand at the moment, not good. Where do West Ham stand? I don't know. But I'm just delivering this video here now as my understanding of the current situation in the most layman terms possible. As I say, tune in to Gio tomorrow. He'll do a really detailed version and explain what's happening. But as terms of breaking news that happened overnight, which is exactly what happened with this, so obviously time differences and whatnot, not good. Not good at all. And it would certainly appear that the Brazilian hearing is heating up. And I think if this one goes down, it is almost irrelevant to West Ham fans what happens in the FA hearing, because this will be enough. The Brazilian hearing will be enough to finish. If this is all true, it will be enough to finish him as not just a West Ham player, as a footballer overall. It's just a shame. Absolutely gutted about it, really. Really enjoying, him. He's just looked brilliant under Potter, hasn't he? And, yeah. And, I've got a... It's hard not to feel sorry for West Ham, and it's not to, for ourselves. Thinking, why always us? Why always West Ham? Why do we go through this kind of crap? Whether it's Tevez and he didn't do anything. The third party ownership, the Sheffield United stuff. Just at the point where you feel West Ham are at the point of recovery, of repair, if you want, and then we get hit by something like this. So anyway, as I say, Gio will be back tomorrow. I'll give you more details, a bit more meat on the bone.